I'm going to start and going off my script a little bit. Through my values-based learning, one of the keys to that whole process is alignment. Right? And it's aligning the values of the people that you're with, not just who you work with, but who you live with, who you play with, who you do different things with. And this just came to me while I was sitting here, and as I heard Karen speak, and as I heard Judith speak, I'm thinking about the alignment between the conversation I'm about to share with you and what they shared, and that there's just some common themes. And when those common themes keep coming up, what that signals to me is that they're real, that they're true. This isn't just somebody writing something to try and impress everyone in front of the room. They're true and they're real. And those values of community truly are real. And so that just really sunk in with me as I was sitting here and feeling that, the community of the room around us, the words people are speaking, and just being here. And so I just wanted to share that before I actually went into the script that I've actually written. So it truly is the right place to be, and really it's a nice place to be right now. I'm very happy to be here. So you and I working together can accomplish far more than I, even at my best, can accomplish alone. That was written by a gentleman named Stephen Covey, who's written a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a quote that for me means a lot, whether it was with a sports team I worked with in the past, the team of people I work with now, or the team of people helping me behind the scenes to further my career. That as we do things together, I can do far more than I ever could on my own. I thought it was a great way to start off my speech today by sharing that. I am the program director at Wellspring Support here in Victoria. I'm also the founder of www.fulfillingworkplace.com. And that's my way of sharing my passion, of letting people know that work doesn't have to be a grind. You don't have to go to work and wake up in the morning and think, oh, I gotta go to work today. It's never a bad thing to wake up and think, I get to go to work today, right? It's a great way to be, and I want to share that with others and help others build that so that they can be able to have that same sort of feeling. Here at Dawson Heights, I've volunteered numerous times. I've shaved my head twice. I've cleaned up for many bazaars. I've brought things to the thrift stores, and I enjoy every second of it. But a little bit about me. Sometimes it's nice to know a bit about someone's background. You might think they're a little bit more authentic. I grew up in a small town of St. Thomas in southwestern Ontario. You might have heard of it. It's famous for being the city where Jumbo, the largest elephant ever in captivity, was killed. Jumbo was the largest elephant ever in captivity, owned by Barnum and Bailey Circus. Very famous, traveled around the world, was on posters everywhere. And one night in St. Thomas, Railway City, Jumbo started running down the track and hit a train head on and died at the scene. So why would I tell that tragic story? Because there's a comedic part to the story that comes after that. When I was 13 years old, was the 100th anniversary of Jumbo's death. The city decided to build a life-size statue of Jumbo. Concrete, made of concrete. So they looked around and they found someone from Sussex, New Brunswick, to make this life-sized concrete statue. Now, if you've ever seen an elephant, this elephant's bigger. It's still to this day the largest elephant that's ever been in captivity. So this is a big elephant. It was put together in Sussex, New Brunswick, and they're like, look at this beautiful elephant. And then they realized it's way too big to transport. So they had to cut the legs off. Okay? So in the newspaper and on TV every night in the news was, here's where Jumbo is today. Sussex, New Brunswick from St. Thomas, Ontario is 1,600 kilometers. And they've got this concrete elephant with no legs on a truck. And they've got a truck with concrete legs. Driving across Canada at a very slow speed. That's the city I grew up in. In the last few years, I've been studying and building my capacity to be a values-based leader. There's that word again, values. They continue to pop up in conversations everywhere I go. But what are values? Values are the ideals that give significance to our lives. They are reflected through the priorities we choose and that we act upon consistently and repeatedly. They truly are what brings meaning to you deep inside. Those are your values. Looking through Dawson Heights website, I'll repeat the values of excellence, professionalism, teamwork, dependability, and community. I'm here today to pay tribute to honor the volunteers of Dawson Heights and that community they have created. I congratulate Dawson Heights for their efforts to honor and recognize those who selflessly give their time to create something great for the community now and in the future. It is said that communities produce what they honor most. And by honoring your time, your commitment, your energy, and your sense of belonging, they will continue to produce the community that they desire to create. Community can be defined as a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing attitudes, interests, and goals. The word volunteer is defined as to freely offer to do something, but there's many contexts in which we can freely offer to do something. The word was originally used for soldiers who signed up to join the war, as opposed to those who had been conscripted. And in the 1800s, the YWCA and the YMCA grew volunteering from a purely military service category to the altruistic value of giving your time without financial benefit. People volunteer their time to an organization because they want to support a community. 93% of volunteers said that making a contribution to their community was the key motivating factor to their decision to volunteer their time. More than 3/4 said they wanted to use their skills and experience, and over 1/2 said that they had personally been affected by the cause the organization represented or supported. Although most volunteers get involved with a charitable or not-profit organization for altruistic values, to give back, they also believe they receive a substantial benefit themselves. Many stated that their volunteer activities gave them a chance to develop new skills. For example, 2/3 said that their interpersonal skills had improved. Volunteers thought the experience had given them better skills in communication, organizing, and fundraising. Each generation has their own understanding of what being a volunteer means. For my father, being a volunteer was about being a presence in his church. He was the one always there early to open the doors, to make sure the mats were cleaned, to make sure the books were all where they needed to be. He was the one that was early for funerals to make sure there was respect and dignity for those who were about to arrive. He was also the person up before everyone else, snow blowing driveways before everyone else got out of bed. The whole neighborhood's driveways were done. But not just that, he also did a nice pathway. We had no sidewalks, always did a really nice pathway from the end of our driveway, 12 houses out to the main road to the sidewalks, so my elderly grandfather had a path so he could get to the mall to socialize. For my mother, being a volunteer meant being in the canteen, being a hockey mom. But it also meant being the person that cooked a casserole when someone had a baby or when someone died. She was always there to be a good neighbor and to give to people when they needed help the most. My parents taught me there are times your community needs you to be there, to step forward and not worry about the financial gain. I learned that when someone dies, my dad's there to prepare the church and my mom's there to make sure everyone's fed. While many are quick to complain about the younger generation, I'm thrilled and comforted by our young generation. They are compassionate and charitable with both their time and their money. When I drive by Janice's place up by the hospital, I think, how could this young girl, fighting such a painful disability herself, give so much to the community for years and years and years to come? She has inspired my 11-year-old daughter to be kind and compassionate and charitable, where she has birthday parties that are called a toonie party, where you bring 2 toonies as a gift, and one of them is donated to the charity of their choice. A few years back, on a very nice, warm Victoria Monday long weekend, her and her friends made lemonade, made baked goods, and stood outside Canadian Tire on Admiral's Road, raising money for the Nepal earthquake victims. They spent all the money to buy the goods. They gave all the money they gave back to the relief. She works far harder than she ever does on school, on the Terry Fox Run, on Jump Rope for Heart, and all those other events that the kids are able to donate their time and money. I'm very proud of her and comforted knowing that that generation, labeled as entitled and selfish, are so dedicated and inspired to give so much without financial gain. I don't really recall many instances myself where I volunteered as a child, because what's in it for me? That's how we thought. That's how we often thought as a young child. What's in it for me? As I've grown older, and I'm able to embrace common good values, where our thoughts, our choices, and actions are centered towards the benefit of all of society, where we release our self-interest, and instead of being the best in the world, we're the best for the world. In a strong culture, an organization can find common purpose, where the goals of the team are focused on the benefit of the whole. This allows all of us with differing values. We all have different values. It allows all of us to work together to create something great. That shift from being me-centered to being we-centered doesn't just happen with age, as it is heavily influenced by our experiences. A few weeks ago, I got a call from my mom, and she told me that one of my childhood friends passed away. Rob was 47 years old. I hadn't seen him in 20 years, since I moved out of southwestern Ontario. I first met Rob when I was 5 years old. My parents owned a trailer, and we parked at a campsite permanently when I was 5 years old, and I was shy. I said, go talk to the young boy across the street. And so very, very shyly, I walked up and I met Rob. And we did everything together for a couple years. We rode bikes, we played soccer, we played basketball, we did everything we could together. Because we'd be, you'd 5, 6-year-old kid, you're up at 7 a.m., parents say, go do something. And we played until 8 o'clock at night or whatever it was. One summer, Rob decided that we should play tennis. Rob was a few years older than I was. He was my role model. So yeah, let's play tennis. So I don't remember exactly whether somebody gave me a tennis racket or whether I saved up some money to get a tennis racket. But I remember we got in the car and we're driving to the trailer park, and we get there and I come running out with my tennis racket and I'm like, let's play tennis. Well, where are we going to play tennis? We didn't have a tennis court anywhere. So we convinced Rob's dad to take us into town, 20-minute drive into town to play tennis. So we get out there and we realized we actually don't know the rules of tennis. 6, 7 years old, we didn't have the strength to get the ball over the net. And so we spent 20 minutes running around the court trying to find where, trying to get the balls that we let go by us because we didn't really know what we were doing. The summer before I went into grade 6, we stopped camping, so I lost touch with Rob. Although my parents had a bit of contact with his parents, I knew how he was doing, and we lost touch. And as a teenager, I was able to play tennis. I don't know if Rob ever played tennis again, but it sure seemed important to him. Now, what's different about this is that Rob had a physical disability. I don't exactly know what Rob's disability was. I was quite young. But I know that he had very little usage of one side of his body. At 6 years old, it didn't matter. We were out doing everything. We were playing, we were doing this. But I just can't imagine now, thinking back, how challenging playing tennis must have been for Rob. But he enjoyed it and he loved it. Although shortly after we gave it a try, we spent the rest of the summer playing air guitar with a brake clip in our tennis rackets. Kiss was popular at the time. Anyway, his disability never affected our ability to play and explore and try new things. And my story could end there, and it would be sad that Rob passed away. But there's more to the story. When I was in my 20s after graduating college, I was working in London, Ontario, and every day at lunch I would go